It is the agenda for the 21st century you're living in today. For a brave new world where everything that you cherished and held true will no longer exist.
Now, major magnitude 7.6 earthquake struck off the coast of southern Chile on Sunday, prompting the evacuation of coastal areas on the island of Chiloé. No fatalities or major damage to infrastructure has been reported in the tourist-heavy region. And the earthquake disrupted Christmas celebration plans for thousands of people who were forced to flee their homes and seek higher ground amid warnings of a potential tsunami. Later, however, Chile's National Emergency Office lifted the tsunami warning, signaling to the nearly 5,000 people that they could safely return to their homes.
Reports of damages are only starting to trickle in now, and in large part because this typhoon hit the central region of the Philippines in the dark, and so it was traversing that region literally in the dark. And I say literally because power was out for most areas of that region, still out in some areas. Cell signal is still spotty, so it is quite difficult at this point to get a full picture of the extent of the damage. We have seen local media reports as well as posts on social media about just how strong the winds were in the first few hours it hit the Philippines. People were saying the winds were pounding on their windows, that trees got uprooted, that tin roofs and signages were blown off. And so this was a strong typhoon, a Category 4 typhoon when it hit the Philippines. Now it has been downgraded to a Category 3, still a strong typhoon though, and so we can expect people to still be in evacuation centers at least in the next 24 hours. So far though, no reports of deaths. Christmas is a big holiday here in the Philippines. It is peak travel season, and so with flights and sea travel grounded, I think you can imagine the scenario. Thousands of passengers are now stranded in various ports in the Philippines. In fact, they've had to spend Christmas Eve and Christmas Day in those ports. Some of them were even transferred to evacuation centers. Local governments that are handling those ports even had to ask additional assistance from the national government for food for those passengers. Local governments had evacuated or tried to evacuate people on Christmas Eve and on Christmas Day. Of course, people hesitated to evacuate, and so what the local governments had to do was to impose forced evacuation measures. And one governor even brought in roast pigs to evacuation centers just to entice people to leave their homes.
fact, it'll go down in history now as the strongest tropical system to make landfall in the Philippines since record keeping this late in the season. I mean, 1945, the records go back. They've never seen one in December quite like this. So yes, the evacuations took place, but there was also stranded people and passengers, about 12,000 of them in ports that didn't get out in time or thought they could beat the storm. This visual image shows a well-defined eye. It underwent rapid intensification, as we so many times see these just before they move into the Philippines. This one about a 500-kilometer radius, so it's a large storm too. But this time of year is when we really start to see them trail off. But again, I mean, it just goes down in history. This is the first Christmas Day typhoon in 35 years. You got to go back to 1981. That was Typhoon Lee, and that took 188 lives. Before that, you got to go back to 1947.
Now, Kuitun, a city in China's Xinjiang Uyghur Autonomous Region, has seen the heaviest snow of winter. About 20 centimeters of snow fell for more than 20 hours from the middle of the day on Friday to Saturday evening. The snow is causing heavy traffic and disruptions daily life. Heating and the power supply services were working around the clock to keep people warm.
Well, we were coming down here to go over to the PI and pick up some pizzas for a party tonight, and came around a curve, and my husband said, hold on, and there's a car turned over, another couple cars that were crosswise. The conditions are horrible, and we just slid right into, we're wedged into between a tree and the cement embankment.
The National Weather Service said winter storm and blizzard warnings and watches were in effect from Nevada and Colorado up through the Dakotas and into northern Minnesota. From New Mexico up through northeastern Wisconsin, a mix of freezing rain and flurries will cover roadways with an icy glaze and blowing snow over the weekend. According to the American Automobile Association, storms could hamper the plans of some 94 million Americans who are expected to travel by vehicle over the holiday season.
A white Christmas in the Great Plains has turned deadly in Utah. Icy conditions in Salt Lake County, killing a 50-year-old man when his car slid into oncoming traffic. Police say he was simply driving too fast on that slick road.
Parts of North and South Dakota have experienced a second day of severe blizzards. Heavy snow in parts of North Dakota saw road closures and plows at work on Christmas night. But howling winds created whiteout conditions. The National Weather Service has forecast as much as 15 inches of snow still to hit some areas before the storm system moves on.
A powerful storm made its way through the state. 14 inches of snow fell in the Flagstaff area, but the gift of a white Christmas also causing lots of problems on the roads. There were reports of multiple car crashes and road closures around northern Arizona, as well as a lot of people getting stranded in their vehicles. The heavy snow shutting down the east and westbound lanes of Interstate 40. That, of course, forced drivers to take alternate routes, so always have some extra water and food in your car.
Yeah.
Back up a little bit. Okay, straighten it out. Okay, now start going forward a little bit. Nice easy throttle, nice and light. There you go. Keep it going. Nice and light throttle. Light throttle. Keep your momentum going. Keep the momentum. There you go. Once you get the momentum going, you can get speed. Stay right in the track. Think about turning around at 315.
not only a very beautiful environment here, but it's also a very quiet environment.
At his home in the rainforest along Canada's Pacific coast, Glenn McPherson researches something that science says shouldn't exist. But it does for him. He hears it every night.
When I first moved here, on my first night after the house quieted down, I was actually taken aback at how loud the hum was.
The worldwide hum is usually described as a low-pitched rumble, like a car or truck engine idling nearby, with electronics pulsing. This is a simulation.
We'll be finding out soon enough whether or not the world hum is as prevalent in Asia as it is in the English-speaking world.
Now, after 4 years, his worldwide hum and database project has found nearly 13,000 people on 5 continents who've emailed to say they're hearing something. The number's too large, McPherson says, to dismiss as hysteria, delusion, or belief in the supernatural.
Given that people arrive at this independently, and now looking at the hum map and looking at the distribution of the geographic distribution and the distribution in age and gender, what these people are reporting is something that is certainly real for them.
This paper from the University of Oklahoma 12 years ago links the sound to a U.S. military program that uses VLF, very low frequency radio, and aircraft to communicate with nuclear submarines underwater. It's the first of 4 explanations that Glenn is pursuing.
Second, the hum is the grand accumulation of human activity at low frequency sound and infrasound. Third, that the hum is a terrestrial geological phenomenon. And fourth, the hum might well be an internally generated phenomenon by the body. Let's just throw this off.
Using a specially built steel box that's supposed to block radio waves, Glenn wants to eliminate all outside sources for the sound. Yet so far the hum is still there, even inside the box. That means new approaches and trying different technology, trying to, as he puts it, give himself and thousands of others around the world the quiet life they deserve.
A hen farm in Yangsan, Gyeongsang-Namdo Province has tested positive for the H5 strain of avian influenza. Further tests are underway to determine if the strain is highly pathogenic. On December 20th, AI was detected in the feces of wild birds near Chunam Reservoir in Changwon, Gyeongsang-Namdo Province. It has been confirmed to be highly pathogenic. It's the second AI case involving wild birds. The first highly pathogenic case occurred in Upo Wetland in Changnyeong, Gyeongsang-Namdo Province. The only 2 regions in the nation that are still AI-free are Gyeongsang-Bukdo Province and Jeju-do. So far, 260 poultry farms in Korea have tested positive for avian influenza, including those where AI has been confirmed and those where the virus was detected after the culling of birds for preventative purposes. In terms of wild birds, 29 cases have been confirmed. More than 25 million birds either have been culled or will be culled soon.
This is something the kids of Bangkok's Klang Thue slum thought impossible just a few months ago. The only open spaces were wedged between large apartment blocks and either flooded or used as garbage dumps. There were no fields for sport or areas to simply run around. That's why the AP Development Company came up with what it calls the unusual football field concept. They flew drones over Bangkok to identify unused spaces within the city, spaces they could clean up and convert for the community, and they did it for free.
Here in Thailand and other countries in Southeast Asia, normally when kids play football in the smaller field, they just don't have that exact rule, you know. They just enjoy the games, and that's what we want to create it, you know. Although the space is distorted, but they have, you know, 100% fun when playing this kind of football.
It's given teenagers like 14-year-old Sirat Natnung the chance to develop his football skills, a healthier, safer alternative to what might have been on offer.
Fewer guys are joining gangs and causing problems because they have other choices. They now have the choice to spend time exercising, playing football.
Most anywhere in central Bangkok, space is a rare commodity, but especially in low-income areas like this. It's so crowded that daylight barely makes its way through. That's why innovative public space designs like this are so very well received.
Soon a third space will be opened in Klang Tui. It will also be used for football and provide the added bonus of lighting.
Many kids grew up without public facility and spent most time playing video games or causing trouble on the streets because this area used to be pitch black. There were no public lights.
The company is now in talks with Japanese partners to take the unusual football field concept to other cities in Asia.
We all want to help one another. Human beings are like that. We want to live by each other's happiness, not by each other's misery. We don't want to hate and despise one another. In this world there's room for everyone, and the good earth is rich and can provide for everyone. The way of life can be free and beautiful, but we have lost the way. To those who can hear me, I say, do not despair. The misery that is now upon us is but the passing of greed, the bitterness of men who fear the way of human progress. The hate of men will pass, and dictators die, and the power they took from the people will return to the people. And so long as men die, liberty will never perish. You have the love of humanity in your hearts. You don't hate, only the unloved hate, the unloved and the unnatural. In the 17th chapter of St. Luke it is written, the kingdom of God is within man, not one man nor a group of men, but in all men, in you. You, the people, have the power. Then in the name of democracy, let us use that power. Let us all unite.
And in time of domestic crisis, men of goodwill and generosity should be able to unite regardless of party,